everyone, I'm Spider-Man 1991, and I'm here to talk about all the comic books I read for this week, the week of April 9th, 2014. I didn't film a weekly review last weekend because I was busy with a bunch of family stuff. I only had enough time to get out of it to see Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and I was able to do that review. That was probably the only video I uploaded last week. I apologize for that. I usually give an advance notice when I'm not going to post a review, but sometimes stuff like that happens. Also, another thing, poll list this week. I decided at the day before Wednesday to get Batman Return #1, so wasn't enough time to call ahead and reserve a copy. Unfortunately, they were all sold out at both comic shops in my area, so I bought a copy on eBay. It should be arriving next week, and I'll probably have it reviewed in time for Batman Eternal #2. So, enough of this talk. Let's focus on some comics. Starting with Image Comics. You guys should know this. I only get one image title. I really only get one image title. It's Invincible #110. I had to get the digital version because, like Batman Eternal #1, they were all sold out, or they didn't arrive or something. Anyways, Invincible #110. This is pretty much a game changer. Okay, it's not that it is just a lot of stuff. Just like two really big things happen in this issue. One, something that we really didn't see coming, and another thing is a really big scene that I think is going to did draw a lot of controversy. Well, not really a lot, but it was enough that Robert Kirkman talked about it the very next day, this past Thursday about it. If you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, I really don't recommend getting this issue because seriously, like the second, first off, it gets bad. First off, I really don't want to talk about this issue because it does have a big spoiler, like two big spoilers here, and I think that so honestly, right now, Invincible #110 from my non-spoiler, my review without giving anything away, is that two big things happen. You should check this book out, but I would really say, because of the last scene, only if you're like 17 or older. And if you click on the link I'm going to add in the description for where Robert Kirkman speaks about this, you'll understand why. But yeah, overall, I would say Invincible 110 is a definite buy if you are old enough to handle this. But if you haven't been reading Invincible #110, I recommend getting the next trade should be coming out soon, which should collect all the last few issues. Then you can start with 110 as I think next issue Kirkman described it as a fresh new jumping on point, so that's something. But right now, I think it might confuse some longtime fans what's going on here. So not really new reader friendly, but it's definitely buy. But I would say it's definitely a buy if you have been keeping up with the series and you are at least 17 or older. Okay, moving on. All the Marvel comics I bought. Other than Invincible, every other comic I got this week was Marvel. Starting with all new X Factor #6. X Factor sees Doug Ramsey about Warlock. He has no knowledge of Warlock's return, and Danger is able to detect a piece of Warlock inside Doug. And she takes it out, which they're able to use to track down Magus and Warlock. And when they arrive at Magus's base, Warlock is glad to see Warlock and Doug kind of reunite, and also Warlock knows his danger, and there's kind of some robot chemistry in there. And so basically, Warlock tells Magus that he's now going to leave the base and go be with Doug, and so Magus is first really not happy about it, but then he calms down about it and says, "I don't want you here unless you want to be here." And so basically, at the end of the issue, Doug and Warlock agree to join X Factor. And this is pretty much it for the first story arc of X Factor, where pretty much we have the team put together. Yeah, very interesting how we have how the two robotic members of the team are kind of romantically attracted to one another. It's weird, but it's weird and funny, which is very entertaining. I would say all new X Factor. If you're a fan of any of these, it's definitely an interesting group of characters. They're characters that I don't think you would really see together in some sort of way, but these circumstances with Serval Industries has sort of brought them together, so, which should really make some very entertaining, not just superhero wise, but also but also some comedic value as well. I mean, you have Quicksilver, Polaris, Gambit, Danger, now Cypher and Warlock. Cypher is Doug Ramsey's code name. So yeah, if you're a fan of any of those characters, I definitely recommend checking out. And if you have liked Peter David as a writer, that's another reason you should definitely give this book a shot. Otherwise, I'd say Otherwise, if you haven't been reading X Factor, it's really good, and you want to check it out, I would say wait for the first trade to come out, because that'll have all the first 6 issues, and then you can decide. Okay, next up, all new X-Men number 25. Do you want to pay $5 for an X-Men book that has almost every single page drawn by a different artist? No? Then skip it. Seriously, honestly, it's just basically a picture book. There's barely any story. It's just the Watcher talking to Beast, telling him, "Oh, hey, thanks for bringing the original X-Men here. You effed up the timeline." Seriously, just skip it. Next up, Daredevil issue number 1.50. This is pretty much Daredevil's 50th anniversary special, where instead of looking back on Daredevil's history, we take a look at Daredevil almost 50... Oh, wait, no, I think he is... I don't think he's 50... He's either 50 years old or 50 years in the future. Anyways, pretty much we're seeing an older Matt Murdock whose hypersenses have grown stronger over the years, that he's regained some sight. He can't see 20/20 vision, but it's like he can see now, but just kind of only if an object is bright enough he can kind of distinguish it, and also can read if things are bright or really bright red or bright yellow or something, super bright colors. And also he has a son named Jack after his dad. And basically, apparently, his son was born with Matt's hypersenses, and unfortunately, when he was born, he was just sensitive to everything, every single sight, every noise, even taste. And even though he did get his son help, his son still kind of flinches at every single unknown sound he hears and stuff. Oh, and also, Foggy's a lot better now. Seriously, he looks way better in the future. Anyways, Matt's retired as Daredevil, but now he's called back into action when suddenly the Owl's daughter has made 76% of San Francisco blind. So he goes after her. He's able to stop the Owl's plan, but unfortunately in the process, he loses his sight yet again. And that's pretty much it for the main story. There's 2 other stories, one written by Brian Michael Bendis, who had one of the best Daredevil runs, according to most of the fans, and about how that's sort of about how Matt met and married this woman who's implied. It's kind of implied that she's Jack's mother before she's killed by Bullseye. And then our third story is about Matt Murdock's fake twin brother, who Matt created as kind of a way to cover up him being Daredevil, Mike Murdock. Pretty much I would say the first one, nice little look at an alternate future. Second story, another tribute to a great run, and third, basically something for some laughs. So yeah, Daredevil number 150. You don't really need this. It's not essential for Mark Waid's run on current Daredevil title. But I think it is something that if you are a fan of Daredevil, the character, whether it's just been with Mark Waid or way back or if you love the character since the Frank Miller run, then I'd say you definitely owe it to yourself to pick up this issue, because for Daredevil fans, this took 50 years in the making. Definitely a buy. All right, last book is Nightcrawler number 1, written by Chris Claremont, who is probably one of the most well-known X-Men writers on Uncanny X-Men. Alright, so Nightcrawler number 1, basically Kurt's readjusting to being alive again. He's getting used to his new surroundings at the Jean Grey School, dealing with the fact that Wolverine no longer has a healing factor, and also he reminisces with Rachel Gray about their time on Excalibur. And after he speaks to Rachel, he goes and sees his old girlfriend Amanda Sefton, and tries to where he kind of talks to her about maybe rekindling their relationship. When suddenly they're attacked by some robotic dude, and basically the guy attacks Amanda's apartment. Fortunately, Kurt gets Amanda out of there. Then he deals with the cyborg himself, basically using a combination of teleporting and some bow staffs. Well, he's not using swords anymore. He's like using some sort of like fighter staffs, and eventually he's able to defeat the guy by basically teleporting him by having into a collapsed wall. So after Kurt beats the guy, Amanda shows up again, and they talk about how this guy was probably after her. And Amanda says they should go check on her mother, and that's where the issue ends. Okay. The only bad thing about this issue is that it's basically just setting stuff up early, because that's what a lot of number one issues. That's what most number one issues do. They pretty much have to set the frame here, like what's going to happen. What this character's going to have to be dealing with. In this case, Kurt's having to deal with someone who's hunting down Amanda Sefton, or here's the theory, possibly hunting him down. We don't know. Also the Bamfs do make an appearance in this. The Bamfs are pretty much like sort of Nightcrawler's sort of foot soldiers that he can use to help him in battle, which is pretty awesome. But overall there are a lot of positives. Like a lot of the Nightcrawler's earlier appearances in Giant X-Men #1 and Excalibur are referenced. And again, this is written by Chris Claremont, so it is a little bit heavy on dialogue and narration, but I think that's good. I think if Nightcrawler is one of your favorite X-Men and you do love Chris Claremont, I do. I think he did a lot of big things on the X-Men title, so I would say definitely buy this for those two reasons. Okay. So that's it for my comic review this week. Want to get into some news though. From DC, in honor of Batman's 75th anniversary, Bruce Timm helped make an animated short of Batman that pays tribute to the earlier Golden Age stories of the Batman comic book. This short features Hugo Strange and Hugo Strange's Golden Age creation known as the Monster Men. And it's only like a couple of minutes, but it is great. It's by Bruce Timm, and it's Batman, so he made the Batman the animated series. Obviously, it's good. You can check it out on DC Entertainment's YouTube channel, or you can just click the link that I'm going to have in the description down below. Also this week, Amazon.com has apparently acquired Comixology. I don't think this is like a big takeover. Okay, you may be thinking, what does this mean? Well, it's just acquiring it. They're not taking over Comixology. Like, they're not going to make digital comics only readable on Kindles now or Kindle apps. No, that's not the case. It's pretty much, as far as we know, it's just basically going to be business as usual. It's this whole Amazon buying gang Comixology is kind of like how Disney acquired Marvel. In a way, it doesn't feel like there's going to be a lot of big creative changes. It just feels like there's going to be a lot bigger. It just feels like they're going to be more of a financial backer to Comixology. I'll post some links to some articles that go into further detail about this story down below. Okay, thank you very much for watching my comic review. Thank you for subscribing to my channel, liking this video, all that stuff. Thanks to my longtime subscribers. If you just subscribed to me last week, thanks a lot. You're really going to like what I have coming. Overall, thanks for watching. I'm Spider-Man 1991 saying see you later.